letter of permission from the condo board. We have small garage disclosure from the developer, 4 photographs of parking availability, as well as a permit parking area map. We have 5 form letters in support that have been sent in by owners from on Root Street and as well as Carnaham Terrace, and correspondence expressing concern from number 21 Carnaham Street. Can I have your name, please, for the record?
I'm Kevin Morris. I'm actually the applicant and homeowner.
Okay, panel members, do you need a presentation or can we go to questions?
Can you maybe, some of this material is new that we've received. I think it must have been filed after the date. But can you just take me through, I guess one of my concerns about this is that you're removing the garage. I think these are stacked townhouses?
They are indeed.
Yes. You said yes, right?
Yes.
Okay. And given what the the property development looks like, you take a space away for your unit. Can you speak to where parking would be? And also, what has the condo board said in this case? You said they've...
The condo board are absolutely... Yeah, okay, so I'll address the parking issue. It's covered by 9C on-street parking, and for the past 3 years, I have had a permit, actually, for a couple of years, because prior to that there was no permit. You just parked, it was fine. When they introduced permit parking, I obtained a permit for parking, and I've been parking on the street consistently for just over 3 years, because I moved in July 2016. My car never fitted into the garage. If you want to fit a car into that garage, you generally are into a smaller sedan. So I've been parking without problem. I've also included, over the past 5 months that this process has been going on, I've taken pictures of various times of day showing that there's ample parking. And honestly, in the whole 3 years that I've been there, I've consistently got a spot out the front of my house, right in front of my front door. So even taking away that parking spot, which was useless to me anyways, it hasn't been an issue.
The only thing I was thinking in terms of if, you know, this is, I don't know how many stacked townhomes are in this development, but, you know, if this kind of variance goes for the whole development, is there enough space on street?
Well, I can't comment to that specifically because there's obviously a formula that the parking folks, but I know that 9C by no means is full. There's no waiting list on 9C.
Okay.
Been my experience that in the neighborhood, if you need a parking spot, there's always plenty. Consistently, especially overnight, because people tend to put their cars in their garage towards the end of the day. But that is, it's never been an issue for me consistently. And for guests as well that come over, there's never been, oh, we couldn't find parking. That's just never been a situation.
Okay. Well, and I also find it interesting now that I'm looking at this information we received this morning, that there is the information from the developer that's saying that the parking spot is for under small cars only.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and what happens to the units at the top of the stack? Do they also have on-street parking?
They also have their own garage, which they can park
okay.
in.
Maybe
right?
I can see that on the plan.
Every unit has its own garage. Some of them actually have spaces for more than 2 cars, or sorry, for 2 cars, more than 1 car rather. Some of them actually have spaces for 3, should they choose to, because they can park in their carport. But it's not really been an issue amongst neighbours with parking in general, right? And actually, in addition, I sent that stuff through yesterday. I did also receive an email from one of the other neighbours as well, saying that he was supportive of the application as well. So I have an additional letter of support if you wish. He didn't get time to get it signed and witnessed into me for today.
Can you just speak to the one concern that was expressed was the look of the uniformity?
Yep.
Is it going to change dramatically?
No, absolutely no change at all. If you look at the plan, specifically at the back of the house there is, the back of the unit there is a laneway into which you drive to put your car, presumably into your garage, if that is where you can fit a car. I can't. The garage door will remain in place and remain intact. It will open and close like any other garage door in the development. And
sorry to interrupt, because that's dealing with the question I had as well. So you're not taking the entire garage and changing it into a bedroom. A portion of it is still a storage, and it's going to be accessible by the garage door that currently exists.
Yeah, you'll be able to open the garage door from outside. You'll be able to open it from inside, and bikes and stuff will be kept in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's no windows in the new bedrooms.
There's actually it's actually block window. I mean, there is light that comes through the
Glass
garage
block,
door.
But it goes into the storage area, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You might want to check that with the building code if that's
Okay.
fine.
For sure.
Okay, any other questions, panel members?
No.
No? Okay, we'll take it into committee then. I'll need a motion.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to move approval of the application. It sounds as though a space that wasn't going to be used at all because of its size is being put to beneficial use by the owner. I think that that's a very reasonable proposal. It doesn't appear that there are any contextual issues for either the immediate neighbors or the neighborhood. I think that this request clearly meets the four tests, and I'm pleased to move approval.
Oops, I'd like to second the motion. I also feel it's important to note that there is plenty of permit parking on street, so I don't think it's going to create a parking, chaos. So I'm happy to second the motion.
Okay. Motion to approve, moved by Mr. Kniffel, seconded by Ms. Valentini. All in favor? Your application's approved.
Thank you very much.
Okay, before we start the holds, let's take a break until 10 to 11. Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to take a brief break. We'll be back at 10 to 11, and we'll start with 216 Seaton, which is item number 3. No, I'm the owner. Item number 3, 216 Seaton Street. They in the room? Seaton, they're not back yet? Okay. Oh, you are here. Sorry? The app. Okay, so then we'll move on then if you're, or has, she's here. Okay, so 216 Seaton Street. Item number 3. So if the objectors can take a seat along the side here. And, okay, let me read this first. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have correspondence from Jill Haas, the applicant, staff report from community planning. We also have a staff report from the program manager, Heritage Preservation Services. We have support from 255 Seaton. And we have quite a bit of opposition from residents on Seaton Street, and as well as the Cabbagetown South Residents Association. Okay, let me ask you first: was there any resolution to anything, or are we proceeding?
Well, I did speak with the neighbors and the tenants, and there was an informal agreement that if the depth of the building had been agreed upon, then, and I resubmitted the drawings, that there would be support in that way, but it has to be confirmed with the rest of the neighborhood. I'm willing to defer, but if it's going to be until January, then I might as well go ahead today.
The agendas are pretty full. I'm not sure staff, it's usually 3 months.
In the new year. It
Yeah.
might not be January, but
It'll be in the new year for sure. A deferral.
So then, would I be able to resubmit drawings with a different depth and then supporting documents as well?
Well, yeah, you would resubmit. So you would work with the community, work out whatever revisions everybody can live with, and then you would resubmit.
Okay.
And then as soon as you have what the staff needs, then they will, they can place you on an agenda.
Okay. And
So the faster you do it, the faster you'll get back on. But regardless, everything's pretty booked up, so you're looking at next year.
okay. And would I be able to start with some of my building permits in the meantime?
I don't know. You'd have to talk to building. I don't know. It'd be as of right things, so you'd have to talk to them.
Okay.
Get involved in that. So, can I just confirm your name?
Sure. My name, good morning, to Madam Chair and to all the members of the committee. Thank you very much for having me here. My name is Jill Lauren Haas. I'll spell that phonetically, Hotel Alpha Sierra Sierra. I am the owner of 216 Seaton. I live at apartment 3, 232 Lawrence Avenue West in North York. I'm a professional engineer. I'm trained in civil engineering, and I will be representing myself in this application.
Okay, so first question, do you want to go with the deferral? Because then we'll just deal with the deferral.
Yeah, I'd like to go ahead with a deferral so I
Okay.
can get it done as soon as possible.
All right, to the people here in opposition, do you have a spokesperson? Can you pick somebody just to speak to the deferral? Okay, if you can come up to the front, please. Okay, and all we need is your name, address, yeah, at the front, and whether or not you're in support of the deferral.
Well, my name is Joseph Carey, K-R-Y. I've live at 216 Seaton, apartment 6.
Staff.
And we haven't really had an opportunity to talk about the deferral. It was suggested, but it was never really on the table at any point, so the people here have not had a chance to talk about whether we agree with it or not.
Well, I don't
Yeah.
have problems.
Yeah.
Do you want to go back out and discuss it, and we'll take another item and then come back when you make a decision on the deferral?
Yes, personally, I don't have any strong opposition to it, but I don't know what anybody
Unless
else
unless you want to
believes.
do a show of hands, and we'll deal with it right now. Well, sure, really quick, because we're not really hearing. No, can you come to the front? We need your name and address.
Perhaps I can offer an answer to your question.
My name is Sylvie Bougon. I live at 216 Seaton.
If there is a deferral, it means that the application is deferred to come back. It's assumed that it comes back with revisions that have been negotiated with those people that are now opposed to the application.
Okay, very good.
That is
There was
the
confusion in
assumption
our
behind it.
discussion with Jill that there may be implied consent, but there isn't
No.
on our part.
No.
Thank you.
Okay, so can we go by a show of hands? Are you folks okay with that? Yeah, for the deferral only. 4. Okay, so can the applicant come back up? So I just, before we take it into committee, I just want to say to you, perhaps get all their names and addresses and get together with them and make sure that you're all on the same page.
Right.
If the deferral is granted, so that when you come back, that.
Okay, and sorry for clarity, is the deferral just for, there was 4 variances I was
It's
asking?
for the whole thing.
So I come back?
It's for the
all-
for the whole application, and there'll be recirculation fees. I'm sorry?
You, Madam Chair, revised plans and a revised zoning review will be required if
Okay.
they're making revisions to the plans.
So in that case, should I go ahead?
Through the discussions with the neighbors, you're going to be revising your application, including the plans, then you'll have to file those revised plans with your zoning examiner and get a revised zoning review as well, and file that with our office. Once we receive that information and an indication or a covering letter from you of the steps that you went through with the neighbors, doesn't mean that you come to an agreement. The committee members just need to know that you've complied with their request for the or their terms of the deferral, which is to meet with the neighbors, consider their concerns, revise the plans, and then come back.
Okay, if I have to pay the fees over again anyway, can I just go ahead today then?
If you get a deferral, it's this same application that you're changing. If you withdraw, it's new fees. There will be a recirculation fee, which is the cost that will cost the city to pay for the mailing of the new notice of public hearing, because your application fee only covers the cost of running your application through the process one time.
Can I say something else? I'm assuming the deferral is to, chat with the neighbors, figure out, what they might be on board with or not. And also, the planning memo is pretty clear in terms of what they would think would be more palatable in terms of building depth. I can tell you, and when I was looking at this, I feel the building depth is extremely, it's a great variance amongst other things. So if it's just to do minor tweaking, I wouldn't be supportive, but if it's to make some changes to the application, then I just want to put that out there. It's the purpose to make changes to the application, significant changes.
Well, to the depth, but not for the three other variances I think we're in agreement with.
Well, it probably will have an impact on all the other variances. If you're taking the depth away, you're going to have less of a floor space index. Probably landscaping might change.
Okay. So sorry. So I actually didn't receive the city memo. I've been asking for it from Matt Zettner since June.
Well, planning is asking you to revise variance number 2 with respect to depth to no more than 25 meters at the ground floor. And then they want step backs on the second and third floors. And they then want those revised plans submitted to the planning department. So they're asking for revisions.
Okay, I never received that. I've been asking Matt Zettner for a response since June 6th, and I haven't heard back. And I pointed that out to Eileen King when I was making this application.
I'm sorry, but we can't speak to that.
Okay,
No, and it looks like it was filed probably, did you check online?
I checked last night.
It's dated the 20th.
So-
The 20th of September?
Yes, and we received
Okay.
it on the 23rd, so we received it 3 days ago.
All right, it wasn't online last night, and the last chance I had to make an amendment to the application was August 25th. So to receive something from the city asking me to amend after the deadline by almost a month is is a catch-22 that I can't catch up with.
Okay, but we're in your hands at this point. Do you want
So,
to
do you
proceed
wanna
with the
proceed
application
with the
as it is, which we can do, or do you want to request us to defer this matter, which, as the Deputy Secretary Treasurer has indicated, we'll bring it back in January, but the expectation there, as Ms. Valentini has indicated, is that there would be substantive changes made to the depth.
I'm happy to comply with what the city planner has agreed to. I just haven't seen the document yet. So if I can agree to that now, I'd be happy to do that now.
It's going to change other variances, so
It doesn't guarantee you're going to get your approval, it doesn't guarantee your neighbors are going to agree to it, so I'm saying at the very least.
Okay.
It doesn't guarantee you're going to get approval.
Right.
Depends on what the rest of the committee members think, but I guess in terms of deferrals, you've heard us speak probably a number of times through this hearing in particular that, you know, the people are waiting for months and months and months to get to get a hearing date. And when people put their application in and say they're ready, we expect them to be ready. And to request a deferral the day of is difficult for all the people who've attended and also for other applicants, for other applicants who are waiting to have their matter heard. So that's why if it's not a serious commitment to address concerns, then in my view, there's no point to defer.
Agreed.
Sorry, I didn't hear your last thing.
If there's not a commitment to making changes to the application, which might be palatable to the neighbors and the planning department, then I don't see a reason for the deferral.
I'm saying that I'm willing to cooperate with this. If I've only received it 2 or 3 days before the
Okay.
hearing.
Well, we can't change that. That's what happened. So now we're dealing with the deferral.
Okay.
So do you want to defer?
Yes, please.
Okay. So panel members, to the deferral. Any comments?
Madam Chairman, the application as it currently is filed, I have grave difficulty with. I agree with the Planning Department's concerns. Excuse me. So I would have had, I certainly wouldn't have been able to support the application as it currently sits. If the deferral is going to result in substantive changes, particularly to the depth, then I can see merit in the deferral, although, as my colleague has indicated, and perhaps there's an issue here of you not receiving the information in time, it would have been helpful to have this information earlier. The one other thing that I would mention is if you make revisions to the depth, it may in fact, and it's the reason the Deputy Secretary Treasurer said you need to have the zoning recalculated, it may generate other variances as well. You need to check that before you come back.
Okay.
Having said all that, Madam Chairman, I'd be prepared to support a deferral of this application, specifically so that the applicant can consult with the neighbors, try to address their concerns, and to return with substantive changes to the application in response to those concerns.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. I have a motion to defer, moved by Mr. Kipfel, seconded by Ms. Valentini, including recirculation fees.
Yes.
And all in favor? Okay, so your application is deferred.
Okay, thank you very much. I thank the committee for your patience.
People know what's going to happen now.
Okay, so has everybody filled in the decision request cards? Yeah? And so basically, I think you should give your contact information to the applicant so that she can meet with you once they've done the revisions so that you can see it before it comes back to us. Okay? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the next item is 33 Moreland. 33 Moreland. Okay,
Hello again, committee member. My name is Mehdi Agalu.
okay, give me 1 second. So we have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. And we have a staff report from community planning recommending refusal. We have report from tree protection plan review, and we have correspondence and interest from 31 Moreland Road. Okay? So go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Yeah, regarding the variances, I'm going to keep the most variances and talk about the variance number 5, because I talked a few times with zoning examiner regarding this. I think he got the wrong number from center line of the street, because center line of the street is 119.48, and the entrance of the garage is correct, is 119.84. That's a sloped driveway. So I'm going to request to delete this one. And also,
Sorry, you're deleting number 5?
yes,
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
and the next one, number 6 and 7, regarding the length of the parking spots.
So those are being removed?
Yes.
So you can have a seat there. Yeah?
And finally, regarding the concern of the staff for the development, it's that property already zoned 3-story single-family dwelling, and I got all information from neighbor property address 1 Moorland Road. The application was made in 2016. Same, not same height, the proposed height, and it was 10.70 meter. We are requesting for 10.14, and the floor space index was 0.86, same to proposed at 33. So the nature of the development right now, most of the property, they are 2-story single-family dwelling. And just 1 Moorland Road, it's already built in 2016 as a 3-story, same variances, and I'm trying to keep the variances of height and floor space index.
Can you speak to the physical character and how your development fits into this?
Yes, based on that, we can revise the elevation and match with the neighbors, a sloped roof, because right now it's already proposed as a,
Well, it sounds like you're prepared to make some changes, which is good, to make it more palatable, but
Yeah.
that could involve substantial changes to the application, which, as I stated, at the start of the meeting, that we don't
Yeah, the
accept
elevation-
substantial changes. So if you're going to start changing, roof and designs of it, that's going to change things. You might, I think our deferral probably makes more sense. Yeah, oh yeah, we already did, yeah.
regarding the variances, I mean, with the change of the elevation, I think and I believe there is no changes for the variances. As long as we can keep the variances of the height, there is no too much difference for the variances.
Right, but we don't have a drawing that shows the change in the design.
He means the grade elevations. Well, you meant grade elevations, right?
Yes.
So just to clarify, you said that you would be willing to change the roof line and so forth to be more in keeping with the context of the street, but that isn't before us. So what we're dealing with is what you've submitted. You've made some deletions to the variances, but the actual issues that the planning department has already registered concern about are still there, the height of the buildings.
Height of the main wall, side wall.
Yeah.
Right.
Which
Yeah.
is your concern, yeah.
Yes, and I'm saying that the reason was just following the neighbor. The property number 1, Moorland, it's same size of the property, the decision made in 2016, and also I have the application number. It's the height made decision 10.17. We are proposing 10.14, And for that property, the floor index it was 0.86, same to this one. We are not asking more variance and more like different from the neighbors.
Well, except property at 31 is a two-story brick dwelling, and the property on the other side is a one-story
Yes.
dwelling. And what you're proposing, and the elevate, I don't mean to be critical, but the elevations are a bit misleading. The proposed front elevation shows basically a three-story building,
That's right.
garage and 2 stories, but in fact, there's another story above that, which you've got dotted, and that's.
Oh, no, that's just behind, the third floor is a partial occupied. I mean, partially is flat roof and partially is sloped roof.
But the point is that in fact, there's kind of 4 stories there. And at the back, there's 4 stories,
No, the back shows the basement,
still a story.
but we don't change.
All I'm saying, in my view, the height of the building that you've proposed here, in my view, is somewhat out of keeping with the character of the existing buildings on the street, notwithstanding the fact that there is one building that you've drawn to our attention that has heights that are similar. One building doesn't obligate us to approve a second building. It's not precedent setting. So my argument would be, or my question is that the elevation that you've proposed, the size, the bulk of the building that you propose, seems in my view to be out of keeping with the character of the street. Planning department seems to agree with that. Planning department has said that the height of the building is, in their view, excessive. And I'm just challenging your view that, in fact, you're in keeping with everything around you. I don't think you are. I don't think you're trying to mislead us, but I think it is somewhat out of context in my view.
Okay, just one thing. The height of the building is 11 meter based on the bylaw. We are not requesting any changes for the height of the building. Just the height is for height of the side walls, not height of the building.
Right, that was put in place for a specific reason, right? When you're building the
Yeah.
home, it's a lot, kind of, it's
But
big,
again, for
massive.
3-story, it's not most of the
That's
time.
the purpose of that variant, like the variance there in the bylaw.
Again, it happened in 2016, the neighbor.
Okay,
So
well,
was that a variance at the committee level, or was it appealed? And looking
No.
at what One Moreland looks like, it does look like, in my view, it's not in keeping with what is currently on the street in any event. Whether or not, how it got approved, I guess, isn't that relevant. I was curious of whether it was appealed at another higher level, but looking at it in context, which I have in the past, just now, it looks to me to be out of keeping with what is currently on the street. As Mr. Nimfeld had pointed out, it's 1-story and 2-story dwellings with peaked roofs. And yes, while one does have somewhat of a peaked roof, it appears to be very tall and boxy and overdevelopment, as pointed out in the planning memo. So this isn't a case where we have the planning department suggesting that there could be changes made that would mitigate what I would characterize as overdevelopment. So I do have concerns about the height, regardless of what
Okay.
happened at One Moreland.
Okay.
okay, maybe we're going to hold questions until we hear from the opposition, okay?
Okay.
And we'll,
And-
get back- you can come back up and speak to some of the other concerns raised by the
Okay.
resident. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
It's Colleen Evans, right?
Yep, Colleen Evans, I live at 693 Willard, so I'm west of 33 Moreland, directly west. I'm on the corner property of Willard and Moreland,
Okay,
so I'm the 1-story to the west.
So your lots of that.
Our lots of yeah.
so go ahead, you have 5 minutes.
So my largest concern is the height, the change in light that will happen from the east view to my property and the adjoining properties. As well, I have concerns about the mature trees that have been growing at the end of the lots along Willard. There's a number of mature maple trees that are right on the property lines, and any large building is going to be, those trees are going to have to be modified and trimmed and possibly even majorly disrupted in order for a 3-story building to be built there. We have had discussions about the fact that they're going to look at protecting the trees, that some of that's going to be impossible. Also with the re-excavation of the basement that's proposed, that will also disrupt the root situation for those mature trees. And given any instability that will happen with them, it's my garage that's probably possibly in the impact zone if those trees have any structural issues. So I have concerns about that. And again, 1 Moreland, to dispute it being a neighborhood property, it is 4 blocks to the east of 33 Moreland, so it's at the very end of the street. I wouldn't exactly say it's in the neighborhood for an aesthetic point of view.
Panel members, do you have any questions of Ms. Evans? No? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Agaloo, if you could address the concerns raised by Ms. Evans.
First of all, I'm going to point to number of the stories. That's a 3-story already zoned in that area based on the bylaw. So most of the time, it's not possible to keep the 3-story and the height of the side walls. We are keeping the height of the peak point of the roof, as bylaw mentioned, 11 meter. We are going to keep that one and side of the height of the main walls on the sides. And again, for future, I know most of the property at that location are 2 stories, but future they're gonna develop, they're gonna request 3rd floor from committee or maybe height or something else. We are trying to keep developed area. We are adding garage in that area because I know in that area it's really a big problem for the garage spots. So in this situation, I'm asking to variances regarding support the application. I know there is a height variances, there is a concern about the neighbors, but regarding the shadow study, it's not going to affect the neighbors because the peak point of the roof, it's going to comply with bylaw, and the concern is that just side height of the walls.
Okay, any questions? No? Okay, take it into committee then. Comments, a motion?
Madam Chairman, I basically tipped my hat earlier. I am in agreement with the concerns raised by the planning department about the height of the proposal. If I examine the proposed floor plans, it looks as though the majority of the issues stem from the fact that the 3rd floor is a very large master bedroom ensuite. The proposal without that 3rd floor is still a feasible building and would appear to be more in keeping with the character of the community. But as proposed, I do not believe that this proposal meets the context or fits the context of the neighborhood or the community, and I'm therefore going to move that the application be refused.
I agree with Mr. Nipfel's comments, and I also think it does not meet the 4 tests in terms of being compatible with what's going on in the neighborhood. So I'm seconding the motion for refusal.
I should have clarified my motion is relative to the application as amended.
Okay,
Still going to second it.
Yeah.
all right. I have a motion from Mr. Knipfel to refuse the application as amended, seconded by Ms. Valentini. All in favor? Okay, the application's refused.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Okay, the next item is item number 8, 225 Carlton Street.
Sorry, I was getting excited.
Oh, okay. 225 Carlton. Are they outside still?
This is the gentleman
Are
here.
you Carlton? Yes. Where's your opposition?
They left. They just wanted to ensure,
Okay.
yep, sorry.
Okay, panel members, we have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, covering letter from Aaron Cheng, the agent, correspondence from Stephen Dagan, the applicant, staff reports from community planning, Manager of Development Engineering, and Program Manager of Heritage Preservation Services. Okay, can I have your name, please?
Sure. Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. It's Stephen Deldegan. I'm one of the applicants, or the applicant, pardon me.
Okay, panel members, do you need a presentation, or can we go to questions?
No, I just have a question. Could you clarify what the opposition was concerned about? And I gather you've allayed their concerns.
Yes, so they were concerned that there would be development on top of the main building, so on the third floor of the main building, and there is none, so they were happy with that. They thought the extension would be on the main house and not the coach house.
Oh, okay.
Any further questions, panel members?
No, I don't.
No? No? So you're ready to take it into committee then?
Madam Chairman, unless my colleague has any questions, I'd like to move approval of the application. It's a complicated application, so I can understand people being confused by it. However, digging through all the information, I think that what's proposed is in keeping with the general context of the community. My recommendation for approval is subject to the heritage approval conditions, the development engineering approval conditions, and the planning department approval conditions, which I'm assuming you're aware of.
Yes. Yep.
With those conditions, Madam Chairman, I believe that the application is suitable. I believe it fits the context of the community, and I believe it meets the 4 tests.
Okay, do I have a seconder?
I'm going to second the motion. I agree with Mr. Nipfeld's comments in terms of the application, and I think the conditions imposed by the planning department that it be constructed substantially in accordance with the plans will help alleviate concerns that the variances on paper may look like they're kind of larger or whatnot, especially in terms of, I think, the sort of depth variance here. I think building them substantially in accordance with the plans helps alleviate those concerns. So happy to second.
Okay, I have a motion to approve, including all the conditions from Heritage Engineering and Planning, moved by Mr. Knipfel, seconded by Ms. Valentini. All in favor? Your application is approved.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the next item is item number 11, 40 BERRYMAN Street. Okay, we have before us a copy of the plan. Yeah, your opposition's left, or?
No, they're here.
Okay, can you come up to the front here and sit on the side, please? Okay, we have before us a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have a photograph of the neighborhood streetscape, covering letter from Alfredo Roca, the agent. We have previous decisions affecting the subject property, correspondence from Julian Jacobs, the agent. We have email correspondence from the assistant planner, tree protection and plan review. We have a staff report from the acting supervisor, tree protection and plan review. We have correspondence in support from 4 properties on BERRYMAN Street. We have opposition from the ABC Residents Association, as well as the resident on 33 Bishop Street. Okay, can we have your name for the record?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. The name is Costello, Costello, first initial E for Eileen, from Aird Burles LLP. I'm here on behalf of the owner and the applicant for 40 BERRYMAN. Madam Chair and members of the committee, I'm very pleased to advise that we've used the morning productively, and that myself and the members of the community and the ABC Residents Association have agreed on certain conditions and a change to the plans, which, if approved and acceptable by this committee, would satisfy their opposition. So I thought perhaps I would lead with that so that you understand what's on the table.
So are you changing variances?
I am not changing variances. It's a very simple introduction with respect to some landscape screening, but I want to file a plan that shows that so that my friends here have clarity with respect to what we're proposing.
Could you clarify what's changed since you were refused by the committee last time?
So thank you very much for that opportunity. So we were not refused by the committee last time. My client purchased the property, and rather than continuing the drip, drip, drip of incremental variances, he went back to the drawing board, proposed a new plan, met with the community in advance of filing, and that's what you have here. So this is a new applicant, a straight new application, and a new look at the file. Thank you for that opportunity, sir. May I continue? Thank you very much. So we went through the letter dated September 24, 2019 from the ABC Community Association, as well as the commenting letter from Mr. Spaziani, who's their urban design assistant or expert. And we agreed on the following key change and then a few conditions. I'm going to put this up. So the substantive change, and I would be filing this with the committee so that it could be part of a condition, would be that privacy screening 1.2 meters high is going to be introduced on either side of the second floor balcony. And the same privacy screening, again 1.2 meters high, is being introduced around the entire perimeter of the third floor terrace. So that's a change that we would be filing with the committee. And then in addition, there were three conditions that we discussed. The first, which derives from this, is that the proposal would be substantially in accordance with the plans, including this plan, which I would file with you today, so that there is certainty with respect to what is being built. The second, and that's also visible on the drawing which is in front of you, is that the landscaped area which you see at the rear, that's a landscape strip, a 1.5 meter wide strip, which is dimensioned on the plans. There's no variance associated with that, but we are committed to that landscape strip as shown on the site plan, and committed to planting and maintaining 4 mature evergreens as are shown on that plan as part of the landscape buffer to the rear. There wasn't a variance associated with that, and so we wanted to be sure that that was tied and that was part of a condition should the committee see fit to approve the proposal.
Which drawing is that dimensioned on?
It's
not on this drawing. Is
No,
it on the
it's
site plan?
not. It's if you look it's actually on the elevation. And if you can just give me one moment, I can pull that for you. And that's why, through you, Madam Chair, to the committee member, we thought if we had a condition which required a 1.5 meter planting strip at the rear, that would provide clarity. So I apologize, sir, I'm just going to try and find that elevation for you that shows it. Yes.
On the longitudinal section?
If you go, thank you, I was saying elevation and it's not, it's section.
Yeah.
And you'll see, perhaps I should put it up, or do you have it?
I've got it, but you,
Oh, thank you very much.
there it is.
So you'll see at the rear, what's shown, it's 1.524, and there's a depth of 1.2. And it's shown as annotated as being rear yard landscaping area. And so what we were just trying to do was marry that with what you see on the site plan and just provide certainty.
It might be helpful, the drawing that you're proposing to file with us today, it might be helpful to have it dimensioned on that drawing, and you've got them all in one drawing.
That's a very good suggestion. I'm happy to do that. And then the last matter relates to the street tree, which is shown on the site plan, which was part of the public hearing notice. And I'll put that up as well. As the committee will know from the file, our client has had extensive discussions with planning and with urban forestry. We are proposing to put a street tree in the boulevard, and that's consistent with the planting that you see along the street. There's about 5 or 6 street trees just further down the street from 30 to 20, which are all in the boulevard. We're proposing to put it in that location. I note that there's an urban forestry condition which asks for a fee, the $583 fee. My submission to the committee is, in addition to that fee, we're committed to putting that tree there, and that's why we showed it on the site plan. There was a request from the community to have it on the opposite side of the property, to have it between 36 and 40 Berryman, but there's a fire hydrant which is located there. And so that's why the street tree is being proposed in this location. So it's on the site plan. It would be caught by the substantially in accordance, but I wanted to highlight that for the committee. So those were the three changes, and it's my understanding that with those three changes, the community association and the residents who are here are no longer opposed to the proposal. I'm happy to now walk you through those variances if you'd wish, or to answer any specific questions which the committee may have.
We're almost at 7 minutes, so I think I'd like to hear from the community, and then we'll have you back up if there's any questions.
That's fair. Thank you very much.
Is there a spokesperson for everybody? That's you? Okay.
Good morning, Madam Chair and panel members. Sylvia Schumacher, I will spell that last name, SCHUMACHER, at 37 Bishop Street. So Bishop Street is the street immediately to the north of Berryman.
Okay, you have 7 minutes. I mean 5 minutes, sorry. I'm looking at the...
Give or take. All right, so it's true, we did spend the morning in negotiations, of course, with the applicant. There is, and yes, it is true that the three conditions, as the applicant's lawyer outlined, we did agree that among us that those three conditions, well, we would, that goes some way to removing our objection, our opposition to this application. However, I'm sure out of inadvertence, the applicant's lawyer did actually forget one condition, and that is an undertaking from the applicant to, I'll get the wording for you, that the owner of 40 Berryman will personally pay for the removal and replacement of any damaged plants and roots, and provide appropriate replacement plants subject to each affected property owner's approval.
So that has to be a private agreement. The committee doesn't have jurisdiction.
You can't put a condition on that?
We can't enforce it. So that has to be done between you and...
Okay. Also, I did actually, may I please?
I just wanted to say, I did say
No, maybe after
on the record, so that my friend had it on.
No, but I'll get back to you after. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, part of the reason for this is I actually did want it on the record. I want to protect the record. So, my friend did agree to give us an undertaking, but I do want it on the record. So, assuming the three conditions and the undertaking are then met, the neighbors are then not opposing the application.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, I am sorry for
Yeah, I kind of missed what you said. It would have been better to
I apologize for that. I wanted to give my friend that assurance, and that was an oversight. That is in the ABC letter. It's point 4 in their correspondence to you of September 24th, 2019. I did advise my friend that that's not something that's within the jurisdiction of the committee, but that I would, in today's proceedings so that she had it on the record, confirm that my client agrees to that condition. And I've also advised her that we, in the event the committee approves the proposal, we would provide them with a letter confirming that. So she did want that on the record, and that was something we agreed to as part of our discussion.
Okay.
So thank you very much for that indulgence. I'm happy to answer any questions the committee may have. You will note that you have a positive staff report from Heritage Preservation Services. They have set out a number of conditions related to archaeological investigations due to the location of the property. We will have to do those as a matter of course through the heritage permit process, and I'd simply note that we do need to go through that heritage permit process in the event that these variances are approved. We're in agreement with all of those conditions, and you don't have anything in objection from city planning because we spent a good deal of time working with them on this. I think the proposal is a substantial improvement over what was previously approved in a number of instances by this committee.
Have you given anybody that plan change?
It's here on file, ma'am, and I'll file it with the committee when we're done.
We need to identify.
Yeah, can we have it before we make a motion? That'd be great if you have the one you showed with the...
I have it right here. I only have one because we did it in the hallway, but I'm happy to hand it up. And you want to have the dimensions, sir?
Yeah, we want the dimensions, and also can you get it signed by your architect or somebody? We need a way of referencing what the drawing is.
That's why I dated it revised September 26, 19. I dated it right up at the top.
No, she's going to transfer the number from that onto this drawing, so you only need one drawing.
I'll have,
That's my understanding. Yeah, what would be helpful, we're going to have to craft a condition.
condition.
The condition is, if I might suggest, you might wish to reword it, that the provision of a landscape strip of such a dimension along the rear property line and screening of a particular height along the two sides of the third floor balcony and along all three sides of the other balcony, and the provision of a street tree, all as shown on, and then we need a reference to this drawing.
Is the landscape strip the 1.5? That's shown already on the plans, is it
But it's
not?
not dimensioned.
Yeah, well, it is dimensioned on on this section. It's not dimensioned on the site plan.
Reference is the conditions as shown on this plan, so we need the dimension on it.
That was your suggestion, and I'm happy to consolidate everything onto one drawing if the committee would like. Could I stand down for sort of 2 minutes and get that done? Is that acceptable? And I'd like the neighbors to see that as well.
Can I stand you down and move on to the next item, and then
Sure.
when you're ready,
Sure.
I can try to.
Yeah, I want to make sure I dimension this and that the neighbors have an opportunity to see
Okay,
it.
so let's do that then. So I'm going to stand you down right now.
Okay, and I'll come back.
Let staff know when you're ready.
I will. Thank you very much, and I appreciate the committee's guidance on that.
Okay, so I'd like to continue with item 16, which is 260 and 262 Lauder Avenue. And if there's still opposition for that, if you can make your way to the side here. In the meantime, we have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have a 14-signature petition in support, signed by people living on Lauder Avenue, Clover Lawn Avenue, and Northcliffe Boulevard. And we have one piece of correspondence in opposition from 252 Lauder. Okay, can I have your name for the record, please?
A very good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Victor Rosa, representing the owners of the property before you.
Okay, were you able to?
Yes, we did
something?
speak. Basically, I'd just like to affirm the existing conditions of this
Okay.
building in light of the variances before you. It is a two-story building. We've had extensive conversations with planning and have come to an agreeable plan, which is before you, because they wanted to, one, improve the boulevard across the front and the north side of this building that is presently all paved. So we are proposing good landscaping with soft landscaped area. Also, they wanted to change the box-like view that you see to something that's more fluent to the existing neighborhood that has the sloped roof style. So we're proposing a roof apron around extending a section from the south, wrap around to the rear as well.
You started off by talking about existing conditions. Can you just go through the variances and tell us
Absolutely.
which ones are existing?
Absolutely. Existing within the building space, it would appear to be a non-conforming use for several years. At which point it was changed to that use is hard to tell. But on the existing interior space is divided into 7 dwelling units, which includes part of the basement, but it doesn't mean that the basement was ever legalized as units. From a code point of view, I couldn't ascertain that there was the design process was such that would allowed its passage through the Ontario Building Code.
So which of the variances before us are existing conditions?
Variance before you is variance number 1, speaking to a building
So that's existing.
that's existing. Item number 2 is existing.
Okay. Any other ones?
And that's basically it. That's the major existing items. The other ones pertain to the roof skirt that we're proposing, and also a second exit off the south side via what presently is a walkout platform that with discussions with the neighbor, we've come to an agreement that instead of having this continuous platform, we will just create a landing area with stairs leading directly to grade, thereby curtailing that extensive length across that southwest portion, and just have this this deck, not the deck, but rather a landing with steps leading to grade as for the second exit requirement.
Can you clarify that's a change then on your drawing A9, is that correct? Because I understand that the elevations here, the existing, will be altered to look like A6.
That's basically the change along the side, so that we eliminate that continuous walkway and just replace it with a landing, steel landing that gets us to grade, and then the grade provides the passage to the rear as the exit. One of the other discussions had to do with the wraparound apron, the roof apron, that we're willing to cut it back, as you see, potentially half of that distance, to accommodate more flow of light and air passage between the two buildings. That was one thing that the neighbor requested be done. So we're willing to accept those two variations. None of those really impose on the variances themselves. One other point that I might speak to is the overhang that was proposed on this roof apron. Presently, it's shown as 18 inches. However, to accommodate the distance that is existing on the neighbor's side of their overhang, we would like to then restrict the overhang at the front apron to comply, to match that overhang of the neighbor next door, which I think is in the order of about 12 inches. So again, it's not a variance issue, but it's to accommodate concerns expressed by the neighbor next door.
Okay, you're at 5 minutes, so what I'll do is if we can
Just ask about that. Yeah, that
Yes.
has no impact on the roof eave variance, what you just discussed?
It will be hard to comment and pinpoint a reduction to the variance without confirming the extent of their overhang.
You're not asking for a change.
I'm not having to ask for a change. It most likely will be a reduction, physical reduction on site, but there won't be a change to the minor variance requested.
My understanding is, based on your presentation, that in order to respond to the concerns of your neighbor, you would propose to make the changes that are illustrated on this drawing.
Yes.
We would then need the drawing as part of the decision if that's the negotiated change. How would we refer to that drawing?
The drawing before you, we can sign this drawing, date it today, and it could be submitted into committee.
Okay, sorry?
But none of them do affect the minor variance.
I know they don't affect the variance. I'm just...
The understanding, I
You've
appreciate that.
come to an agreement with the neighbor on a number of things that are shown on this drawing. If we don't reference the drawing, then there's basically no reference to the agreement.
Understood, I agree with you. And yes, certainly, it can be signed and dated to today's date and offered into committee.
Can you also clarify what the X's mean on the drawing, so we
removing
know what
that,
it is?
The X's implies removal of.
Right, but,
And I can note that.
so maybe you can do that while we hear from the
Absolutely.
opposition?
It looks like it, I'm not sure.
Can you highlight it or something so it's very clear where the
entire
changes are?
horizontal piece, it's just now landing and stairs, and this piece of the roof, that, as I understand it, that's coming off, and all of this is coming off.
Okay, thank you.
It's the, I think it's the south elevation.
Good morning. Can I have your name and address, please?
Yes, my name is Brenda Jones, and I'm co-owner with Jennifer Ferrari of 252 Lauder, which is the immediate lot south of this.
Okay, you have the floor. You have 5 minutes.
I came because my objections to the variances were the amount of encroachments I saw on that very narrow space between the two buildings. And when talking to Mr. Rosa today, we have satisfied my concerns about it. I had concerns about water drainage, and he clarified some of the building terms and conditions for code that assayed my concerns.
So you're comfortable?
So I'm comfortable with it, with the changes on that piece of paper, yes.
Okay. Panel members, do you have any questions of the speaker?
No, I don't.
No? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Rosa, whenever you're ready.
Through you, Madam Chair, can I just confirm that the purpose is changing to remove the reference to the rear exterior stairs and south side platform? Is that being removed?
This, not necessarily the stairs, through you, Madam Chair, not necessarily the stairs, because you still need stairs to get down from the door
So that's-
walkout landing
The rear or the side?
side, south side.
So it says inner, okay.
You remove the walkway, steel walkway.
So
It's-
it's the south side platform is still there.
The south side platform is being removed.
is being removed, just a landing is being
So I'll
replacing
leave
it.
Side exterior stairs? Is
Yes,
staying
you're staying.
instead of rear?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, panel members?
No.
No? Okay, you have the drawing?
I do?
Can we have it?
Of course.
And has the lady seen the drawing as well as changed?
Great, thanks.
Looks fine to me.
Who's gonna say, so we're in committee. Who's gonna do the honors? There you go.
I'm not exactly sure how to describe that.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to
Architectural.
recommend that the application be approved, subject to a condition that the south elevation is to be constructed substantially in accordance with drawing A9 as submitted to the committee today. The effect of that elevation is to truncate a portion of the roof apron and to remove the steel platform and replace it with a landing and stairway. It seems to me that these were the only aspects of this proposal that were subject to concern from the neighbor. It seems that the negotiated settlement of those changes is reasonable and is basically reinforced with this drawing. So my recommendation is approval subject to the south elevation being built substantially in accordance with this drawing that we have today.
I'll second your motion.
Okay, motion to approve with the conditions outlined by Mr. Knipfel, seconded by Ms. Valentini. All in favor? Okay,
Thank you so much for your
Applications.
time. Have a wonderful day.
thanks. Now, are we ready with Berryman? Okay, let's go back to item 11. Okay,
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
so you want the drawing for this one as well?
Yeah, sorry.
So we need the drawing for this one as well, and then I think members are ready probably.
I was just going to show you on the screen and then I'll hand it up.
Okay.
So what I've done, as per the suggestion, is I've added the dimension 1524 landscape buffer, and that's consistent just for the committee's cross-check with the ground floor plan, which does show it dimensioned. So so that's consistent there. It's otherwise as previously.
Mr. Knipfel was
And has this
asking.
lady
so-
seen it?
We reviewed it
Yep.
together.
Okay.
And then the conditions, I'm happy to review those with the committee. And Mr. Knipfel, I couldn't put the street tree on there because the right-of-way and nothing else is dimensioned, so it wouldn't have been accurate, but the street tree is shown on the site plan.
Okay.
So I thought that was a better approach, and I'm happy to read the conditions which we've worked on and reviewed with the neighbors, and then I'm happy to take any suggestions from the committee on those.
The drawing that we have, what floor plan is that?
That's the third floor plan, and what I had done,
Did I write that on?
it is down at the bottom, and I had crossed that out and had said screening plan to show that it was a different plan that we're adding. Yeah.
If there is a title on it?
Yeah, it's called screening.
Oh, I see.
So I can call it the screening plan?
It was the third floor plan, but then we marked it up, and so we thought naming it something different would make it clear that we're adding it to the package.
It's dated today?
It's dated at the top, September 26th.
So what is it called? The screening plan, the floor plans?
So the screening
Called 40
was
Berryman Street
1.2
screening.
meters.
It's,
What is,
So the screening was 1.2 meters around the third floor deck and on either side of the second.
That's right.
And then to build substantially in accordance with plans and a 1.5 meter landscape buffer at the rear.
That's right.
And the other item is just noted.
we
So-
not just tie it to that plan?
So if I may, we have 5 conditions, and I've worked on the language. We itemized them to make it very clear for the neighbors.
Okay.
The first is provision of privacy screening in the location shown on the second and third floor terraces at a height of 1.2 meters, as shown on the plan dated September 26th, 2019, which is the plan you have in front of you. The second is provision of a landscape strip of 1.5 meters along the rear property line, as shown on the plan dated September 26, 2019. The third is provision of a street tree in the location shown on the site plan dated June 19, 2019, which is the site plan that was part of the public notice. And the fourth is planting and maintenance of 4 mature evergreens in the location shown within the 1.5 meter landscape strip shown on the plans dated September 26, 2019.
So now
And that-
the first, second, and the fourth one, can that not just be consolidated because it's here by just adopting this plan? Or does it need to be listed separate for?
The neighbor's preference was to have clear conditions attached to
I
the
have a-
decision.
Yeah, but to whose satisfaction will this all be done? It would be, I think, easier if we could just say that the landscape screening and privacy buffers be installed and maintained.
In accordance?
As illustrated on the plan filed
In accordance
today.
to the plan.
And then I can actually have it to the satisfaction of.
And then the street-
Community planning, and then as far as the details of what gets planted, they can
But the street tree, we would still have to
have to
reference
be
the
on the site plan. But
because-
again, I don't know if that ties the hands of urban forestry as to where they might want that tree.
And I thank Ms. McLeod for that direction. So if the committee is more comfortable following that direction and making those to the satisfaction of community planning, and then making the street tree to the satisfaction of urban forestry, we're fine with that. I mean, we need to get our permits from forestry anyhow for the tree, so that's fine.
So, yeah, through you, yeah, I may just revise the wording of the urban forestry number 3 if you're moving approval, and just somehow include some wording that the applicant will that they can, well, like usually they negotiate where it's going to go anyway.
Right.
Maybe we can put something in there, but again, I don't know if I want to tie the hands of urban forestry if there's another spot where that tree should be going.
And are we
I just want to make sure, and thank you, Madam Chair, for the ability to work this through. I just want to make sure we're not losing the condition with respect to planting and maintaining the 4 mature evergreens, because that is, so if Ms. McLeod feels that that's done with reference to the plan which shows the 4, I'm fine, and I just want to be clear that that is the commitment my client is making.
Can I make a suggestion? Could we have provision of a street tree to be provided to the satisfaction of the Forestry Department? I think the point that's been made by the Deputy Secretary Treasurer is a valid one. There may be technical reasons why it can't go where you've shown it, because we don't know those technical reasons. And if in fact those technical reasons do exist, there should be some flexibility as to where it goes. It would still be provided, because the condition is to provide a street tree, but I think it should be to their satisfaction. Relative to the 4 trees at the back of the property, we either need to state that there are 4 trees of a certain size that are being maintained, or we need to put a note on this drawing. I've heard both alternatives suggested here, which is that we just let the drawing speak for itself. If that's the case, then we need more notations on those trees. If that's not the case, and we're going to define each of the conditions, then this drawing's fine as it is.
Okay. I'm happy to be led in either direction from the committee. I think they both secure the same thing. I'm hearing a preference from Ms. McLeod to have everything refer to that plan. So I'm happy to do a notation to say 4 mature evergreens.
4 trees then?
Does that work for you? Yeah. 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 I'm happy to put that notation on the plan.
Okay, go ahead.
Maybe she can file the wording so I can somehow figure out if I can incorporate some of it or in the, I don't know.
Do you want to try the wording?
I don't particularly want to get into too.
No, yeah. Can I try and move it along? I'm going to, if you're
Yeah, I'm
satisfied,
ready.
I'm going to move a motion of approval with certain conditions. I would recommend approval of the application subject to forestry condition number 3, the heritage conditions that are on file, in addition to the screening at the rear of the property, the screening of the 2nd and 3rd floor decks, and as shown on the drawing, the drawing labeled screening filed with the committee today, and the provision of a street tree to the satisfaction of the Forestry Department. And the reason for that is that we need some flexibility in case there are technical issues. The notations that you've added take that very general recommendation and make it somewhat more specific. That would be my motion.
So you said the landscape strip, right?
Landscape strip
That's in
and
accordance with the plan.
in the,
So
yes.
that's where the notations are. And the
Yeah, so the landscape strip
dimensions.
notations, the
Yeah, I'm happy
screening
with that.
notation.
Yeah. I'll second your motion.
Okay, I have a motion to approve the application with all the conditions outlined by Mr. Kniffel, seconded by Ms. Valent. Yep, he did. He included that, and forestry number 3, as well as all the conditions that we've just been talking about. So, seconded by Ms. Valentini, all in favor? Okay, the application's approved.
Thank you.
You're aware that the drawing's now part of the decision.
Would you?
Okay. Okay, the last item is item number 19, 38 Salisbury Avenue. Is the opposition still here? Yes, I am. Can you grab a seat up over here, please? Panel members, we have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have a list that's highlighting similar minor variances from Mr. Barrett, email correspondence from the Heritage Planner, staff report from the Program Manager, Heritage Preservation Services, and correspondence in support from 58 Salisbury. And we have opposition from three people on Salisbury, 36, 47, and 52.
Good morning again, committee members, Madam Chair. Graham Barrett of 22 Close Avenue, agent for the owners of 38 Salisbury. I had the opportunity to chat with the neighbor. We had a nice discussion outside, but unfortunately we have to agree to disagree. So I'd like to proceed to the presentation that I've prepared.
Okay.
I'm here to request one minor variance from the zoning bylaw to permit construction of a very modest third floor addition. This will allow for a new master bedroom for the owners. They have a young child and could very much use the space, and a small amount of privacy for when they could get away from said young child by having a third floor bedroom. We're requesting a floor space index of 1.28 times the area of the lot, or 164.17 meters squared, where the bylaw sets the maximum at 1 times the area of the lot, or 128.69. The existing home, which predates the bylaw by many years, is legal non-conforming at 146.56 meters squared, or approximately 1.14 times the area of the lot. So any addition, no matter how small, would trigger this variance. This property was purchased by the current owners in March, and the previous people moved out. They've been working on some interior alterations up to this point, including underpinning, which they had a permit for. And I know some of the letters of opposition that were written in were addressing a lot of construction issues and so on. And the owners are not overly thrilled with their contractor, but the issues have been resolved that were brought up in these letters. So I also spoke with Heritage and planning staff, as you mentioned. This was back in June, and they expressed no concerns about this proposal. Heritage staff were of the opinion the character of the home, street, and neighborhood is not being compromised. No trees are being removed. There was one in the front that was this is where part of the issue comes up. The owner thought that this tree was a private tree and is less than 30 centimeters in diameter, when it looks as though it is a city tree. So that is an issue, but it's in the front. If urban forestry has to be dealt with, so be it. This is a rear third-story addition. So that is a bridge to be crossed later. As you mentioned, I had to look through past approvals in the area, and we do fall somewhere in the middle in terms of FSI. There have been several other approvals in Salisbury, with the greatest at 45 being 1.38 times the area of the lot. This is very close by. When sorted by approved meters squared, we're very close to the bottom of the list. I've submitted these, excuse me, these spreadsheets. So you should have copies of those. As you mentioned, a neighbor wrote in to support our application, unsolicited, I might add, so we appreciate him taking the time to look at the plans and offer his support. As I mentioned too, I'm aware of the letters of opposition, and 2 of them came from my associate friend here. Her letters came a little late for me to address her concerns about sunlight, so it's a little bit difficult for me to discuss that. I've been playing around with a program that maps the path of sun and shadow, and it appears to me that there isn't too much of an impact due to the path of the sun, at least on June 21st. I mean, this may change, but that being the longest day of the year, impact on sunlight seems to be minimal. I can try throwing that on the overhead if you want to see, but I'm also fairly new to it. I'm not a sun expert. Also, there are other examples of nearby third floor additions, so I really don't believe that this is out of character. The variance is quite minor. It'll have no effect on privacy. I would even say that it improves privacy conditions and the possibility for noise pollution, seeing as rather than there being a deck there will be an indoor space. Conversations and the sound of young children will be kept indoors rather than out on a deck. I'm aware of the other 2 letters of opposition. I believe the writer of the one from 47 Salisbury maybe didn't understand the legal non-conforming status of the existing home. And the letter from the other individual is, again, addressing construction issues, which aren't really a matter for committee, but they have been resolved. All that said, I'm of the opinion that this proposal passes the 4 tests. The variance is quite minor. The proposal is suitable for the development use of the land, as I've been told by Heritage and planning staff. It is in keeping with the intent of the zoning bylaw and the official plan, and it will simply afford the owners a little more space to raise a young family. So thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you. If I can ask you to come up to the front, and please let us know your name and address.
I am Judy Steed, and I live at 36 Salisbury, which is the attached house 238. And my opposition is based on the blockage of light. You can see the way they positioned the bin. They've killed the tree in front. There is no support from a resident on the street. The letter that Graham cites
from McCallum at 58 Salisbury. He owns the property, but he doesn't live there. He's a landlord. And I'm really looking at keeping in character with the community and with the two immediate renovations to my west, so that when I'm in my little garden at the back, the two to the west of me have done the third floor renovation with a deck, so that I'm able to look up and see sky and see light. And it really is a precious commodity. You've cited the longest day of the year, but for most of the year, because I spend a lot of time in my garden, I've lived here for 35 years. I'm a retired Toronto Star reporter, and I have flowers and vegetables, and it really makes a big difference when I look up at 38 and see where that addition is going to come right to the very edge of the roof, and where the other houses are, it's really going to block out significant light for me. And so my request, I think, is a reasonable one, that they do what the other neighbors adjacent have done, which is allow for the deck. I'm happy to hear the sound of people's voices and children. I don't object to that. And I think it would be a reasonable accommodation in a neighborhood where the houses are very small and close together. And we want to enable people to enjoy nature and gardens. And I think their treatment of the tree shows, I mean, I don't like to judge, but I mean, a lack of interest in the natural world around, which for those of us who've lived in Cabbagetown for 35 years, we're very concerned about maintaining the trees, the garden, and that aspect of our community.
Okay, panel members, do you have any questions of the speaker? No? Do you have any questions?
I guess I understand your concern about daylight, so, and sunlight. Your suggestion would be that the top floor not exist?
No, I mean, I understand.
Yes, I understood you said there were other people that have done the top floor and you're perfectly satisfied with it. What changes are you looking for?
Just an exterior deck, just the way that the other neighbors have done the exterior deck, which means just shortening their top floor just by a length of, just in compliance with the way the other two on the west of me have done, so that then when they come out, they've got just a little deck up there, and what it gives me is light and sunlight and airflow, whereas if I don't have the deck on their place, I'm really blocked by their addition coming right to the edge of the roof.
So the change, could the applicant, can you put your site plan up? I just want to clarify the lady's concern. So your suggestion is that that proposed addition not be as shown here, but that there be a deck here, is that correct?
At the edge of the roof, yes.
Or here?
Just at the edge of the roof, as the other neighbors have done in the two houses immediately west.
Okay, and I don't know how that is. Have they got decks there or there? I'm just trying.
The deck goes across and faces to the north.
Okay, so there.
Yes.
Okay.
So what that does for me down there in my garden, you can see the difference it makes for me getting light. And that's the picture that I sent.
That's one that I took, actually, but,
Oh, that's yours, okay.
so you can see the house two doors over,
And see
the third
deck
floor
up there?
addition.
Yeah.
And so for me, that makes a huge difference. A deck of that length, and both houses going west from me have that exact size of deck, so that when I'm in that little garden, that's my western light, but then they want to build right to the edge of their roof, which is gonna block my eastern light.
But according to this site plan, you have a 3-story building that goes all the way back. I gather that's not correct.
No, I don't. I'm just a 2-story house.
Yeah, they didn't add details on the neighboring home. We didn't do as-built drawings for it.
I'm just the existing, I mean, I've lived there for 35 years, I'm the existing Cabbagetown house.
So this lady's house doesn't extend back.
No, not at all.
So this is a little misleading than the drawing, because it says existing is 3 stories.
Well, it is a 3-story dwelling, just not necessarily at that end of it.
But no,
No, I'm talking about hers, right?
what I'm
So,
talking
but
about as well.
she's saying it's 2.
I'm a 2-story. I just have my main floor and then my 2nd story where my bedrooms are.
Can you put the site plan up again? Because I'm confused now. I just wanted to know the extent of this lady's house.
You know, I apologize, this is incorrected. That's a mislabeling, that should say 2-story dwelling next door.
Okay.
I do know how, yeah.
So this is a 2-story dwelling?
Yes.
And where does it doesn't go all the way back?
Ours should also say 2-story dwelling, clearly an error by the designer, apologies.
But what's the extent of this house? Does it go all the way back like that?
No.
Because you understand what the problem I'm having is if this is a 3-story dwelling going all the way back, I don't understand what the problem is.
Of course.
But in fact, does your house only go to here?
And do you have like a 1-story addition at the back or something? Oh, it's just.
You can see on the renderings, it's a little more clear. I don't know why the designer labeled that, and I apologize for not catching that.
But none of the drawings are actually accurate because they don't show my house properly.
Well, we tend not to do as-built drawings of neighboring homes.
And now you can see what how they want to build up in 3-story.
Yeah.
The survey shows it, if you want to put that up.
Right, so the survey shows that the two-story homes are the same length, and then the subject application currently has a 1-story shed or attachment. Yeah, there it is there.
That's an extension to their, to the original house's kitchen.
That's right, and that's going to be reconstructed, or that's staying, so the only thing.
They've already torn the roof off it, so I'm not
Right.
sure.
So according to the elevations and the site plan, the front attic will kind of be turned into habitable space, and then the addition will go right to the back to where the 2-story portion is on the survey there. So it'll be in line with the back of her, the 3 stories will be in line with the rear wall of the back of the neighbor, but then they have that 1-story extension.
Do you have an attic on the half-story that's above? No, you can't access it.
No, I
Yeah.
can't access it, no. And so, and our backyards, our properties are shorter. He cited 45 Salisbury getting a variance, but the properties further to the east have longer lots. They have a laneway behind them. Our little section of Salisbury, we don't have a laneway behind us, and we're kind of hemmed in. And I'm hemmed in on all sides by fences, and then, of course, by 38 Salisbury, so in a north-facing garden. So my access to east and west light is very important to me in terms of my enjoyment of the garden and having light to grow my flowers and lettuce and tomatoes and all of that. And I think it's a reasonable request because the other neighbors have done it to the west, and it looks very attractive. It's in keeping with the surrounding community and just the attitudes in the surrounding community about being open to nature and not hemming everything in, not making everything dark.
Okay, panel members, do you have any further questions of the speaker? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Barrett, you can speak to the request.
Sure, I do, of course, sympathize with the neighbors' concerns, but what we're really talking about here is 17.61 square meters of extra space. It's just shy of 190 square feet, allow for a 3rd-story master bedroom. I mean, I'm not sure if we're really able to discuss sunlight here at committee. Sometimes people put a lot of weight on it, sometimes they don't. But in terms of the 4 tests as set up by the Planning Act, I believe this passes with flying colors. The variance is minor in nature. It's an exceedingly small addition. The home is already legal non-conforming. The proposal is suitable according to planning staff and heritage staff. I believe it's in keeping with the spirit and intent of the zoning bylaw and the official plan. So when we look at the 4 tests, I believe that this is appropriate. Beyond that, I don't really have too much to add. This is the design that the owners want, and this is what I'm here to present.
Okay, panel members, do you have any further questions of Mr. Barrett?
No, the 3rd floor plan is incorrect as well, because it shows this lady's house is even smaller. Is that correct?
The third floor plan?
Neighborhood dwelling, it ends at the stairs.
Again, when these people prepare plans, they don't necessarily draw the neighbor's house exact to scale. We don't necessarily have that information.
Fair enough, but I'm not being critical, I can understand. It's not your obligation to make sure it's completely accurate, but it is a semi-detached house. So the relationship between the two halves of the semi is a pertinent issue. See, according to that drawing, the entire master bedroom extension extends beyond your neighbor's house. According to the survey, that's not the case. So the drawings are very confusing.
Yeah, that would be on the designer's part. Apologies. But regardless of that, we're talking about 190 square feet of bedroom space.
Could I add something? Sorry. Panel members, do you have any other questions? No? Ms. Valente, do you have any more questions? No? Okay, let's take it into committee then. Comments? I'll just say that I'm very sympathetic to the neighbors' concerns. They're very valid. In terms of the addition, I do agree with the applicant. It is in fact modest. There are several homes on Salisbury that have similar floor space index. And it also looked like several of them had three-story additions that were more or less set back from the front, given the heritage homes that they are. So I'm somewhat conflicted, however, from a planning perspective, I do feel that it is minor.
So I agree with your comments. I do sympathize with the neighbor and her concerns. But given the size of the home, I feel like this is a modest addition in terms of keeping within the footprint of the existing footprint of the two-story up where the second floor is. Some of the applications we see, often people are, suggesting or applying for three-story additions all the way up from the back. I think because the house currently is over the existing GFA, I believe Mr. Barrett said it was 1.14, and they're going up to 1.28 times. So I agree. I don't think that is an unreasonable. We haven't had planning come in and weigh in and saying, the third floor should be stepped back because that reflects the pattern of development throughout the area. We've got stats that show that the GFA seems to fit in with what the applicant's requesting. So based on that, I think it's a modest addition, and I would, unless anybody else has any questions, I would recommend approval of the application, subject to the heritage condition that has been requested by the Heritage Department.
I'm conflicted on the application as well. I think that I have sympathy with the neighbor's concern about light. I believe it could be addressed. If you look at the third floor plan, it isn't all a master bedroom. There's a rather substantial walk-in closet that in fact is as big as the bedroom. And so if there was a willingness to evaluate the spaces on the third floor, I think in fact it could be pulled back and could provide additional sunlight penetration for the neighbor. However, having said that, I do believe the variance's request is minor. I believe it's consistent with the objective of the committee to look at minor variances and determine whether they're in keeping with the context of the community. I think this is. And so somewhat reluctantly, I'm prepared to second the motion for approval.
Okay, I have a motion to approve, moved by Ms. Valentini, seconded by Mr. Knipfel. It's including the heritage condition. All in favor? Okay, the application's been approved.
Thank you very much.
And the meeting is adjourned, and it's 12:20 till 1:30.
Thank you.